What's going on, all you wild Hobbit enthusiasts? It's your two favorite uncles back here for Cinephellas, and tonight we're going to be talking about the brand new TV series that hit Amazon Prime Video. We're talking about Lord of the Rings, the
Lord of the
Rings
Rings, the
of
Rings of
Power. This ring
Power.
right
Woo!
here, one ring to rule them all, I think.
Without it, what am I to be?
Not too long ago, a few months back, we reviewed the first few episodes that were released back in August. But we're back tonight to talk about the entire, first season, 8 episodes that premiered a few months back, and overall thoughts on the first season, because there's going to be, I guess, maybe 5, 6 seasons of this. So the first season, how it all kicked off, and kind of where it's going.
Lord of the Rings, we're back. J.R.R. Tolkien's universe, back to Middle Earth, takes place, thousands of years before the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And then, of course, we got the Hobbit trilogy. So as we talked about, reviewing the first couple episodes and our thoughts on that, an awesome cinematic experience that Prime Videos, put out for the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. They pumped in all the money in the world in this production. It's the most expensive TV show of all time, and every dollar and cent of it shows up on screen. It's just magnificent. Every breathtaking shot, all the big mountain tops and the set pieces are just these giant, extravagant things that even put Game of Thrones to shame. They actually film in these places, and they put all the money into the art design, the costumes, and everything. But that can only go so far with a show like this, and you have to have a great story. And luckily for the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, it does have a great story. Like we mentioned, the first couple episodes, there's a lot of setting up this universe. There's a lot of new characters that have to be introduced. Galadriel, who we've seen in the previous films from the movies, played by Cate Blanchett. It's now played by Morford Clark here. She's your main heroine in this show. And it's basically all about, it's about the forging of these rings. And it's about Galadriel having to go around and, amass an army that's going to be able to take on the Dark Army that's coming after them and, threatening pretty much everybody in Middle Earth's existence. And it's going to be up to her to get a team together to, put a stop to them and hopefully defeat them before, the whole Middle Earth comes under Sauron's rule.
There's a lot of great introductions of characters that we're familiar with and maybe not familiar with. As you said, Galadriel, obviously Cate Blanchett played that in the movies, the one Peter Jackson, series that he put out, and Morford Clark playing this character, really fantastic. She's more of the focal point for the most part in this season. There's a lot of sub characters that show up along the way, but she's really the focal point. She's really badass in this role. A really cool scene where her story goes, putting this crew together, to go to battle. And you see a lot of cool orcs and very terrifying orcs showing up along the way. A lot of cool practical effects, much like the movies. The orcs are something I would not want to see late at night in my house because they just freak the shit out of me. And they did a really great job with that. All the actors, there had to be thousands of actors that were on this, show playing orcs and things like that. All the creatures that show up along the way. I mean, this entire production, it had to be ungodly amounts of people putting this together. As you said, the most expensive show ever made, and it's a beautiful looking show, folks. If you're looking for something visually stimulating, you want to try out the 4K, QLED TV at home after, Black Friday, picking that up, check this show out. It's really stunning. Really brings you back into this world of Middle Earth that they crafted. Tolkien crafted 85 years ago, and then Peter Jackson's adaptation of the films and the Hobbit movies as well. But really brings you back into the story. Also introducing, Aaron Deer, Ismael Cruz Cordova plays a really great character in this. He's really badass with the bow and arrow. There's a bunch of, dwarves and elves that show up. But really the more important one for me was Elrond, played by Robert Aramayo.
Mm-hmm.
Really great. It's played by Hugo Weaving in the movies, but this is like his younger version where Hugo Weaving was kind of bitter and cranky. This guy's more happy and, a great person. And, he forms this relationship with the dwarf throughout the series as well. It's really cool.
Yeah. What makes this show work a lot for me too is just the juxtaposition between the original trilogy and this show. It's very familiar. And, with Samwise, obviously, and Frodo and their relationship, there's a relationship in this show between Nori Brandyfoot and then you have Poppy Proudfellow. Nori and Poppy are much like Sam and Frodo, just like best of friends. Their families are really close. They follow each other wherever they go. They sort of get into trouble together. And, within the first couple episodes, this giant man seemingly comes down from the sky and they find him and they have to kind of keep him a secret from their family and from everybody else. And they find out that this being, we'll say, seems to be a good guy and seems to want to do good. They find out that he's not evil, so they kind of keep him secret for a while, and you slowly over the course of the season figure out who it is. But the show does a good job of not revealing too much, all at once. It keeps you guessing all the way into the end for these, episodes, the 9 episodes that this first season ran. And it doesn't give you everything all at once. It can be a slow burn at sometimes, but once the action really picks up, and it does, especially in the second half of the season, there's some awesome scenes that reminded me a lot of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and really rivaled that and looked even better, today with the all the money they pumped into the production and all the elves and orcs. They all looked awesome. It's epic. It's just, this feels epic. And this is a big win for Prime Video for me. This was an excellent series. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but you do see some, people that you kind of think are going to show up, but the show does a good job in not revealing everything all at once. Keeps you guessing until the end. And then in the final episode, it really pays off. And it really solidified me and wanting to see this story continue throughout the whole, hopefully 5 seasons that they have planned, because there's a lot of story here. They can only get through so much of battles and everything that happened at the end, and the reveals and the treachery going on, and the relationships between all the characters that are formed over this first season are really going to propel the second season on forward. And, I think it's going to be an even better second season of the Rings of Power.
For sure. There's so much they could have dived into with this, but, 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever it was, it really, setting everything up, getting us reintroduced to these characters, in a younger age, and building this army, to go to war, and then bringing in old, familiar, scary faces along the way without giving too much away, with the big bad guy returning, and kind of a cool twist with that, which I didn't see coming towards the end, but really setting it up for the upcoming seasons. And I'm very excited to see where they go with this. I was really pleasantly surprised and excited at the same time, because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I was kind of afraid that they would fuck it up, with first time showrunners. They had Patrick McKay and John D. Payne, really running the show, and they did a really fantastic job. They took their time with this. They crafted a great story, a lot of great actors and actresses, a lot's on the line. The overall production, cinematography, everything is just absolutely beautiful in the show, and it really worked for me, and it makes me excited to be a fan of fantasy again. Fantasy could be hit or miss, but lately I've been getting a lot of great fantasy shows. Obviously, Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, but I want to see more shows like this, not on like sci-fi, sci-fi
Right.
network. But this is a really, really great show. It's going to be set up for a lot more. So any fans out there, people have never watched it, check it out. It's streaming on Amazon right now, and we both highly recommend it. So with that being said, I'm going to give Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, first season, 4.5 out of 5 video handpieces.
The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power is a treat. It's a pleasant, surprise. I had low expectations going in. The Hobbit trilogy was fun enough, but not great, not as great as the original trilogy. So it has a lot to live up with. And luckily, they took their time and crafted a great story, and, a really great return to Middle Earth overall. Everything looks phenomenal, and the relationships and everything formed, the actors and actresses that they chose to cast are all spot on. And man, those last batch episodes really had me on the edge of my seat. All the action, just blew me away. I can't wait to get to the second season. It's going to be a while with a huge show like this. I don't even know if they've started filming the second season. Have no idea. It's going to be a while though. We're not going to see it in 2023. I'm guessing probably 2024, probably later on. So it's going to be a long, hard wait. But if it retains the level that this first season, brought forth, and with the little tease at the end and the promise for the second season, man, I'm all on board for the Lord of the Rings of Power. And I am going to give the Rings of Power a 4.5 out of 5 Elrond hair pieces.
So I want to hear from you wild rascals out there. What did you like about the first season of Rings of Power? What didn't you like about it? What are you excited for in the upcoming seasons? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to click subscribe. Also, check out these wild rascals on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV, movie news, and reviews.
So thank you for joining these two wild hobbits as we return to Middle Earth for Prime Video's new show, The Rings of Power. Man, we had a blast with this show. You know, we took our time with it, didn't binge it all at once. I think when the second season, by the time that comes around, I'm going to be fully invested and I'm going to want to watch it week by week. And we're probably going to do an episode by episode review. I have a feeling for the second season, having watched, you know, what we just witnessed. Pretty awesome first season. You know, couldn't have gotten much better. And fantasy, you know, it's been killing it lately between this and House of the Dragon. So very high on fantasy world, thanks to these two shows and thanks to this, you know, awesome crafted show from Amazon Prime Video of all places. They needed a big winner, and I think they got a big win with the Rings of Power. Although spending that much money on a show, that's really going to have to do well moving forward. It's going to have to continue to just, you know, outpace the first season in their viewership. I know they got a lot of viewers for the first season, but you know, to recoup the amount of money that they put in, you know, they're really going to have to, you know, step up their game for the following seasons. And I can't wait to see it. So with that being said, we're going to return to Middle Earth. We've got some wild stuff to do back in the cave with Uncle Gandalf, if you know what I mean. So until the next Cinephellas TV review, I'm Uncle Henry Hobbiton.
And I'm Uncle Logan Tolkien, signing out until the next TV review. Cheers!